He can object.
I object to that respectfully, Your Honor.
He provide a basis.
Do you see that person in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Objection is hearsay.
Give me one word. Is it hearsay? Is it calls for speculation?
Objection to speculative.
It's not speculative.
Is he still
Object
able?
to that, Your Honor.
Correct, ma'am.
Objection.
Overruled.
Objection.
Overruled.
To one of the officers or lieutenant.
Hold on a second. Was that an objection? Or just a comment under your breath? Your objection's noted. It's overruled.
Hey guys, Seth Fuller, your favorite trial attorney here. Today I'm going to talk about the Darrell Brooks trial. This is direct response to my buddy Ben asking me to do a video about it. If you don't know who Darrell Brooks is, he is the man accused of driving his car through a Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin, killing many people, and we're on like day 15 of the trial, something ridiculous. After more than 2 weeks of trial, the state at this point, as I'm doing this part of the video, is just finished their closing arguments, and then Darrell's going to go, and if it's anything like the rest of the case, as you could see in the little intro I had there, it's a shit show. But I just want to talk about Darrell Brooks's strategy, that's what you call it, but more importantly, the sovereign citizen movement. I'm going to offend a lot of people here. I can't imagine down in the comments how many people are going to say brainwashed or whatever. In any event, let's talk about sovereign citizens. This is something I see in the courtroom at least once a week. There's some guy standing behind the bar reading out something about jurisprudence and him being a sovereign citizen and this being a court of admiralty and fringe on the flag and right to travel. And a lot of people don't even know about this. Maybe they've seen some videos of like police pullovers, or maybe they've seen Darrell Brooks and it's like, what is going on? Why does he keep saying grounds or objection I trade value for value? Anyways, I give value and trade a value. I don't know. He keeps saying this stuff because he is a sovereign citizen. Now, this is a general term for these people who just basically don't believe the law applies to them. They're basically adult toddlers, if you think about it. They don't want to do anything. They don't want the law to apply to them. Either they've done something terrible or even beforehand, they don't want to pay taxes or pay child support or have to register their car or anything. And they're basically the extremist versions of libertarians. I mean, the extremist version of libertarians, in that they don't think the government should have a say over them. And so that's the start. And basically they've all following guys who are, fraudsters or just a little bit crazy, a lot intelligent, who make up these wild systems to dupe these poor schmucks into thinking that they don't have to pay taxes or, buy the products from the store. They could just walk out or whatever it is. In any event, this culminates in the courtroom when they don't follow the laws as written. They think they don't apply to them. Then they come into the courtroom and again swear that they don't apply to them and argue that they don't apply to them. And the way they do this is basically by saying that we shouldn't have the codified laws that we do, but instead should go by common law, which, believe it or not, like every good conspiracy theory, every good lie has a kernel of truth to it. That's what all of our law is essentially based on. But on top of that, we've codified it. And depending on the offshoot, there are different offshoots. One of the more interesting things about the sovereign citizens is the strange bedfellows they make, specifically with the Moors, who's like an African-American version of the sovereign citizens. And you'll see these like white rednecks, biker gang guys like sharing videos from these black nationalists because they share this same, like, the laws don't apply to me and it's not fair. They don't just like say the laws don't apply to me. Basically, a few of them have made this very complicated, very convoluted common law argument, meaning like based off of the common law, and that's the only law they've decided. And again, they basically think that if they say it doesn't apply to them, that it doesn't. They don't understand that in the end, the law is what it's made of. In other words, what is the law in Russia? Well, I don't know if there's a law against talking bad against the president, but if you talk bad against the president of Russia and he captures you in the middle of the night, throws you in the gulag, and you have no trial, that's the law. It's not lawful. It's not organized. It's not how it should be. It's certainly extremely unjust. But that is the law. Here in America, we have codified all of our laws. And that actually makes it easy. And we all follow these laws somewhat. And even though there's exceptions, and that's where they get hung up and get a hard on for these, like, well, these guys don't have to do it. We all have to follow the laws as codified. And we have a system that does follow laws as codified. And if a judge or a court doesn't follow the laws as codified, a judge, a jury, or a attorney, we have ways to appeal that. That's what the courts of appeals are. And then if they don't like it, we have a Supreme Court in every state and the United States to then say, no, you didn't follow the codified law correctly. I think it's the best system on earth. It's also the worst system on earth besides all the others. So anyways, we have this system and it's pretty cut and dried. And it's, again, that's the point of codifying. You don't have to look at as much case law. Case law only clarifies the codified laws. By codified, I mean written down in the penal code codify, or the family code or whatever. So the sovereign citizens say there should be no codified laws. And their main thing is, I'm sovereign. Your codified laws don't apply to me. And so they make this very ridiculously convoluted argument about that they are travelers. They're not driving a car. They're not operating a motor vehicle as defined by the code. They are traveling. And if they're just traveling, then they don't have to have a license or registration or anything like that. They don't have to follow any of the rules. And as far as who they are, well, are you Darrel Brooks? If you watch the Darrel Brooks, he kept objecting to being called that, because what they say is they are not Darrel Brooks. I am not Seth Fuller. Seth Fuller is the entity created by the government through the Social Security office that's secured by the Postmaster General, who apparently is in charge of this whole thing. I am not making that up. In any event, they come through this long convoluted that all boils down to, nuh-uh, you can't hold me. I'm not that person. You can't make me. You can't do that. That's not right. And they're convinced that if they write the right things down, that everything gets fixed. If you want to see what I'm talking about, check out this Russell J. Gould, War-Castles. Check out his, 14 hours of explanation videos. So anyways, this is one group's leaders that basically, he said that by writing certain stuff down, he became the Postmaster General. And like, why do you want to become the Postmaster General? Because that's even better than the president, because we are all bought and sold by our Social Security numbers. It's just this crazy convoluted story that has a kernel of truth to every step. And therefore, these people who really want the government not to have any say over them, they cling on to this. And Darrel Brooks is one of them. And you'll see it circulating in prison a lot because, again, spoiler alert, prisoners don't want to be there no matter what they did. So some ideology, some religion, whatever you want to call it, that tells them that they don't have to be there if they just say the magic words or write the magic words. And believe it or not, that's what it's about. It's about speech. Like, oh, if you put a colon here, then you've changed what this contract is. And that's why you keep hearing, I exchanged value for a value and I modified the contract, is what Darrel Brooks keeps saying. They believe that by writing stuff, you're actually doing something, which you can do something by writing stuff, but it has to follow the rules that everybody follows, which is the law. That's what we have here. In any event, those are sovereign citizens, and they basically will just argue till they're red in the face, and they'll scream and shout and complain all the way till they're locked in jail for life. And so Darrell Brooks is one of those, and the judge in this case, Jennifer Darrow, very pretty lady and a very competent judge at this particular trial. I mean, she's going to want a vacation after this, but I will tell you, the one thing that a judge doesn't want is to be appealed. And Darrell Brooks, these guys do get some appeals. They never win, but they get appeals through, and she doesn't want that to happen. She doesn't want to have to do this trial over again or have anybody else do this trial over again. Judges want their trial judgments to stick. And so, man, she's giving every single chance. She puts him in a room when she has to that he can see, and he holds up objection cards that she saw in the intro. And she gives him so much leeway, even though he's basically saying that you don't even have jurisdiction on me. He's basically saying, nuh-uh, I don't have to do that. Just everything is like, that's not how it works. I didn't trade value for value, whatever. He just uses these nonsense, these dog whistle keywords, these buzzwords that the sovereign citizens use to try to deny the court's power. And so she has done a tremendous job in letting him speak, giving him plenty of leeway. She'll put him in another court, but then she'll bring him back. She'll allow him to eject from the other court. And basically, these guys can't keep lawyers. I'll tell you an interesting story. I had one guy who hired me who wasn't like this, and then I had to pass him on to another lawyer because I moved firms. And then I hear later that from his seventh lawyer, they're like, "Are you Seth Fuller?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Dude, this guy talks so great about you. He's the only lawyer he liked, and indeed, he's filed a grievance with all the other 6 lawyers." So I kind of looked into it, and he had, in jail while waiting some pretty serious charges, he had become a sovereign citizen, done what Darrel Brooks did, says he doesn't want an attorney. It's not they don't want an attorney. They want an attorney who's going to file all these crazy motions with these crazy signifiers and it's all about how you write things and the language you use. And since they won't do that, they keep firing them over and over and over again. And so basically this guy got to his 8th attorney, and finally the judge, like Darrell Brooks, let him do it. And I actually sat in on the trial just to watch what happens. And this guy ended up getting 60 years for punching his girlfriend in the face from a jury the whole time, saying that they didn't have jurisdiction over him, which is, again, where the rubber meets the road with these guys. This is what us lawyers try to tell them. Look, maybe you're right ideologically that the Articles of Confederation should still be considered in this, but they're not. And if I went down the road you wanted me to, you're going to prison for a long time. Like this guy did, 60 years. And like Darrell Brooks is, his whole life, I imagine. So to answer anybody's question about what I think he's going to be found guilty on, 80-something counts of hit and runs, vehicular manslaughters, bail jumping, just so many charges of just hurting and killing people with his car that I think he'll be found guilty in every one. And it's inevitable. Maybe a good lawyer could have done something to get him something, but maybe not. And more importantly, that's not what he did. He chose to not have a lawyer because they wouldn't do what his little they wouldn't follow along with his temper tantrums. And so here we are. He's going to be found guilty, and maybe by the time I post this, he will have been found guilty. If so, I'll add it to the end. And that's sad that these guys who are like, they're always bipolar, they always have, at least slight mental illness, but they just can't get out of their own way. But maybe that's justice. Maybe those type of people just generally aren't going to function in their system and are going to end up becoming violent or hurting somebody, or just accidentally hurting somebody by not following the rules and regulations that we have. And maybe that's inevitable. But the sovereign citizen movement is countrywide. And if you're a sovereign citizen, I'm just telling you, I would never make fun of anybody's beliefs. I'm not making fun of it I joke about it, but in the end, it doesn't matter what you believe. What it matters is whether you're going to jail or not. What it matters is whether you're going home. What it matters is whether or not when the police arrest you with you saying they can't arrest you, whether or not anybody anywhere down the line is going to tell that police officer he can't arrest you or tell him he did the wrong thing. And that's just not going to happen. I guarantee this is not the last we'll see of the sovereign citizens. Sovereign citizens and conspiracy theories go hand in hand. Basically, sovereign citizen movement is a form of conspiracy theory, and therefore a lot of these guys get really ramped up, are very anti-government. It is an anti-government in the core conspiracy theory. And so as across the nation, I believe not saying that every sovereign citizen is violent, by the way, that's not the case. I'm just saying we will continue to see some of these people who do these, kind of crazy antisocial things have this or adopt this antisocial belief because it fits how they think. And more importantly, it's just like if you did something that you're gonna spend your life in jail, maybe it helps you mentally to think that you're not responsible because there's fringe on the flag. In any event, I hope that answered your question, Ben. I hope it enlightened everyone else on this movement. And if you have any questions or anything, post them in the comments. I'm pretty good about answering. Thank you for listening to my ramblings. And go to my website or whatnot. Go to justmfandgive.com and donate there to my nonprofit where everything goes to helping people in need. And have a good one.